is in how Imam Husayn completed the message of the Prophet. And one of the important messages and one of the important duties of the prophets, peace be upon all of them, is that they were Bashir and Nadhir. We have this ayah, which is Inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira. And we sent you as a witness and a giver of glad tidings and as a warner. So we look at the message, when we look at these words, Bashir and Nadir, we want to see what is being meant by them. What is the prophet? What is his duty exactly? So we know what the words mean, but let's look a little bit deeper. And the first one, which is Bashir, Mubashiran. Okay. Now, this word has different meanings in the Quran. One of them is in the meaning of happy. When you look at this Bashin Ra, Bahiqatan Mustabshiran, talking about the people of Jannah, that they are going to be laughing and they are going to be happy. We also see it in the meaning of the word skin, talking about the people in hell. Lawahatun lil bashar. That's talking the hellfire. It's going to be burning off their skin. We also have it in the meaning of the word human being. فَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهَا رُوحَنَا فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. So we sent our messenger to her, and it appeared to her as this was completely a human being. Talking about Hazrat Maryam, when the angel came to her, she saw a man before her. So we want to see, well, what does this have to do with the word which we're trying to get out with this, which is Bashir, which is giving good news. Okay. What is the similarity? What's the connection between all of these words? The reason they call human beings Bashar, right, is because we don't have hair over all of us. Other animals have fur over them, so you can't really see their skin. Okay, so it's Bashar. Okay. The other thing also is that when a person is happy, you can see the happiness in his face, in his skin, on his out. It shows on the outside, where his face looks bright because of the blood moving around in his body. So he's Bashir. That's where it's coming from. So if a person brings you good news, he tells you something good, you become happy. So this is where what the connection is there. So meaning that, and then it's also Bashar is also the outside part of something, is that. And so even when they say that when Allah describes a angel appearing to be a person, it doesn't use insan, it uses bashar, because insan is talking about the whole human, bashar is talking about the appearance of a human. So this is where we get the word bashar. And the other part is uses good news or glad tidings. We have when the brothers of Yusuf are talking, sorry, not the brothers of Yusuf, the people who are pulling Yusuf out of the well, the caravan, They said, Ya Bushra hadha ghulam. They said, oh my God, what good news is? They saw one is he was handsome, and then also it was good news that they thought they could sell him and get some profit. So they were like, oh, we just stumbled across a money making device. So this is that word, bushra, meaning you're giving good news, you're giving happy news, you're making people. The other one is Nadhir. Now, this one we also usually there's a bunch of different words, but it's usually circulating around the word warning. But the other meaning that we also see in it is promise. So, in the example of the word promise, we have yufuna bin nadri wa yakhafuna yawman kana sharruhu mustatira, that they keep to their promises and they are afraid of a day when the evil is everywhere. It's talking actually about the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam. Please give salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In Surah Insan, Allah's talking about the Ahl al-Bayt and he's describing what type of people they are. And he said that they keep to their nadhar, because they had made a promise that they would fast and they kept to that. So if you look at this type of promise versus another promise, it's not just I promise I'm going to do something. It's that one is connected to the other. Like, because this happened, then I'm going to do this. This is different than sometimes a promise doesn't have a shart to it. If this happens, then this happens. Okay? We have, what's very interesting is we have a verse which is kind of giving a lot of meanings. This is from Surah Maryam when she's talking. Actually, Hazrat Isa is talking to Mary. He says, فَإِمَّا تَرِيَنَّ min basharin ahadan. If you see any people today, فَقُولِ إِنِّي نَظَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ سَوْمًا. So if you see any people, say that I've pledged to my Lord a fast. So this is actually the word more precise than promise is a better word would be pledge. When you sort of, because this happened and I've given this to Allah, it's promised. So this is also the connection with warning, meaning that this is somehow owned, this is somehow demanded from you. Like that if you do this, then you get that. So Allah is warning us that this is the aqibat, this is the retribution, this is the end of our actions if we do wrong. And the other verses with that, inna arsalnaka bil haqqi mubashiran wa nadira. Now, usually in the Quran, they have the words come separately, but in multiple places, I think over 10 times in some form or the other, the two words come together, that the Prophet gives the good news and he also gives the warning. Sometimes it comes by itself. فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المنذرين, and see how was the end of those who had been warned. That this, I warned you that this would happen. And also Allah doesn't just punish people randomly. He doesn't just go to someone, they didn't have any warning, they didn't have any foreshadowing, he just punishes them. No, he sends the prophet to tell them, look, this is what's going to happen if you continue along this path, and gives them every opportunity to change their course. And they continue, they're obstinate, and then Allah has to punish them. We have another ayah, which is إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُنذِرٌ وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ had. That surely you are a warner, and to every group of people is a guide. This kind of goes to our other speech, which is talking about hidayah. So the tafsir of this verse is that Prophet Muhammad, he says that I am the mundir, I'm warning the people, and you, Ya Ali, you are the had. You are to guide them after me. Showing that this guidance continues after, but also even to some degree, this warning has to continue because you have the Quran, but people start to forget and lose what was the real meaning of it. So you have to now warn them again that if you don't do right, then you're going to have such and such iqab, such and such punishment. Now, why do we? So we see that this is an important mission of the prophets. Now, there's people who they want to take, usually they want to take one part of it off or the other. They say, why should we have so much good tidings? We need to just warn people. And we see some of the aqwam, some of the previous peoples, they just concentrate on the negative side. They think that all Allah does is punish people rather than there's a reward. So in some of the other books, they talk a lot about the punishments and they talk about the punishments in dunya, not really thinking about the akhirah, what happens after you die. They have so much emphasis on the punishments that Allah sent down to the people in this world, and they only try to avoid the worldly punishments, and they promise themselves paradise. So we have some of the previous people, they do that. They put everything off. They only try to find a way out of the uqubat in this world. So they try to say that, no, as long as I don't get punished in this world, the second world, this we don't know, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Or you have some who only concentrate on Allah is merciful. Allah is going to be kind to us. And is there going to be a punishment? Maybe, who knows? All I do is I believe in X, Y, and Z, and then I'm fine. I don't have to worry anymore. So, but what we see is in reality, the prophets warn of multiple things. One, if you misbehave, and you can misbehave so badly that Allah says, I'm not even going to wait till the akhirat, I'm going to punish your people right now. You are so mufsid, you have gone so far off the right path that there's no hope of you returning, so I'm going to cut it off right now. So this is one type of punishment. That it's that this, like, so you have the, like, Lut and things like that Allah didn't wait until the akhirat to give them some sort of a punishment. He punished them here in the here and now. He said, this has gone too far. Some of the people who they would break their fast or they would break their Sabbath, they got punished in this world. Allah didn't wait till the next world. Sometimes this is also to send a lesson to other people. Part of the punishment in this world is to show people that this is what's going to happen to them. Then there's the other part, which is that if you continue this on an individual level, then you will get punished. So one of the things we do notice from the past Qawm and the Aqwam in these day and age is most of them, except until maybe very recently, we haven't had really too many people that they were devoted to fasad. In the past, they would have that the entire community was committed to that. Now we're starting to see some of these, the Western world is now drifting into that they're actually being committed towards spreading fasad as a community project, which is something we see in the world right now, that they're trying to be like, no, not just are we going to be mufsideen, but we are going to try to force you and your children to be mufsideen with us. And this is when you start to get worldly punishments. Because if you're just mufsid by yourself in your gar somewhere, your cave somewhere or something like that, then Allah can be like, you know what, he's being bad, I'll wait till he's dead, maybe he makes tawbah. But when you come out and you start trying to spread fasad, you start trying to make sure other people are mufsid, we call it poisoning the well. I'm going to pour poison in the well so nobody else can get water out of it. Then Allah says, oh, okay, boom, you're going to be done. So what's very interesting is that with the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, none of these severe uqubat to just destroy aqwam happened. In the past, they used to happen, but one of the rahmat of our Prophet is that usually the punishments would come in some other way, which doesn't wipe the people out. So sometimes the Muslims would just defeat them and disarm them, or something like this would happen, but not wipe them off the face of the earth. And also to give people some hope. If you just tell people about punishments and punishments and punishments, the people might obey. However, they won't love Allah. They'll just be afraid. And the wrong type of fear. So there's a healthy fear of Allah and there's an unhealthy fear of Allah. A healthy fear of Allah is knowing that Allah is powerful over everything, understanding that Allah can pull the plug on you at any time, knowing that Allah knows what you do, knowing that Allah has it in His power to punish you in this world or in the next, knowing that Allah is the one who's giving you and feeding you, and knowing that Allah loves you, but conditionally. Some people want it to be unconditional, like childlike. No, if you're doing wrong things, you're trying to destroy the mission of the prophets. You're trying to cause problems for Prophet Muhammad. You're trying to cause problems for the deen. You're trying to cause problems, then Allah does not love you anymore. And that's just supposed to be something that we're afraid of, losing that love and that mercy, that Allah, who loves everyone, does not love me because I've gone so far off the right path. So this is healthy. Unhealthy is that you think that Allah is sort of out to get you. He's like Hakim Mustabid. He just makes rules so that he can punish you. Like there's no point to the halal and haram. There's some people who seem to think this way, that halal or haram is not because there's some actual good in the halal and the haram. Like we're not banned from eating pork because pork has some sort of harm in this world and the spiritual harm. It's just that Allah wanted to put some temptation there out for us, that hopefully we get tempted and so He can hit us. That's the unhealthy fear of Allah. So the person is obeying, but just because he thinks that Allah is trying to get him into hell. Now, if this keeps up long enough, he'll end up eventually disobeying, in finding loopholes and stuff like that. There's some people who are like this. Their whole thing with the deen that they have is just trying to find loopholes so they can do whatever they want. It doesn't even have any meaning. Like the whole point of not eating, like there was this, speaking of pork, it's not that, no, the animal is unhealthy and Allah banned us from it because it's unhealthy, spiritually and physically. And so therefore we shouldn't eat it and we should stay away from it. This is a healthy idea. They think, no, it's just trickery. So they went and there's some, what's his name? There's some type of pig they found in the jungles that, what's his name? Because of course they ask, okay, what's a pig? And so instead of us just say a pig, okay, it's khinzir, okay, it's haram. They're like, what's a khinzir? Is it like this? It's like, no, it has two hoofs, it has one hoof, it has this, it has that, it has this, it has that, to try to figure out exactly like the calf, like how they had with the cow. Which cow and what cow? So they said, oh yeah, and then it has this and this and this, and also it has one stomach instead of two stomachs, like a sheep has two stomachs. Okay, mashallah, they find out what a pig is. So they went and found one animal in the jungle, and it's a pig in every description, but its stomach is slightly smaller in the middle. They said, aha, that's two stomachs. So they found this poor miskeen animal and they ate that animal. Like this is not the point of the deen, just to try to find some animal that is not a pig, or find some way to avoid making prayer, or find some way to, like that your whole religion, we say hile shari, which is a religious trick. Like sometimes we have to do some kind of religious trick to kind of get us out of a difficult situation. But you don't live your life that way. Meaning, like, sometime in the past, sometimes there's like, which day is Eid? I remember that used to be a big issue. Which day was Eid? So one marja would say it's this day. Another marja would say it was that day. And so to make the salat with everyone else and kind of have wahdat for the community, we would do musafirat on that day. So we didn't fast, so we could break the fast with the community. So for the overall good of wahda, we do a hile shari too. So we don't, because you can't fast and not fast at the same time, but just to show the community that everybody's doing Eid at the same time, we would fast. So to break our fast, we would travel and then come back to kind of be with the community. This is hile shari. But you don't have your whole life planned. How am I going to skip Ramadan? I'm going to travel here and travel there and this and that and the other to try and make myself sick and things like that so that I don't have to. That would be Like their whole point of the deen is not to, no, the point of the deen is to get the benefit of the fasting. The point of the deen is to get the benefit of abstaining from the haram, not to find a way to do it and not to find a way out of it. So the prophets are there to guide us to the right thing, to make us concentrate on the justice and the justice in this world and in the hereafter, and to be warned from doing wrong. Now, this brings up the question that we have sometimes. Some people are like, well, why do we have hell? I've had people, some of my students, they'd be like, why did Allah create us if He's just going to send us to hell? Allah didn't create you to go to hell, He created you to go to paradise. 99% of the things are halal. You went and found the one thing that, like that example of the shajara of the tree of Prophet Adam. All of the trees are halal. Prophet Adam went to go and be interested in the one that was haram. It's not that all the trees were haram and one was halal. All of them were halal. He said, look, just avoid that one. So we're the ones who don't have the self-control. So Allah created us to be in paradise. He didn't create us to go to hell. But then someone said, well, why do we even have it? Allah is merciful. I had people say, I don't believe that anybody goes to hell. Allah is so merciful that He wouldn't do that to His creation. First of all, how do we even know that there is a hell is because Allah says there's a hell in the books. So how can you just say that it's not there or that Allah wouldn't send anybody to it? So we know that there's a hell, but then we want to put some little thought to why is it there? One of the reasons is that you have to have justice. If you don't have hell, there's no concept of it. Or you can just have some sort of I believe X, Y, and Z, the Father and the Son and the Holy and Ghost, then after that, everything is forgiven. Then logic dictates that why not then sin? I could not do it, but there's not going to be a bad thing. So there's no real punishment for partaking in sinful behavior because Allah's not going to punish you for it anyway. Another is retribution and justice. If I did wrong to another person and then I just die and the other person dies, so one person lives their life in complete piety and the next person is doing wrong and driving and putting people astray and stuff like that, and they both get paradise. Or they both just die. Some people believe that this is just one dunya and this. And they're like, oh, but people might remember you well. But what if we're both, when you get to a logical sort of thought process, imagine there's two people on a desert island. And they both know that they're going to never get rescued. And then one of them decides to do zulm to the other one. So why not do the zulm? There's not going to be a worldly punishment. There's nobody there to punish you. And there's not going to be a akhirat punishment. So your zulm just goes unpunished. So there's no point to the life. There's no meaning in the life if there's no retribution to give that guy restitution for what has gone wrong. And then it starts to be, these people are like, well, why are there, if Allah is just, then why are there babies dying? And why is there this? And why is there that? And well, if there's heaven and there's hell, Allah can now give restitution to those who were shortchanged, fix that's what's broken, punish those who've done wrong. And then also we have the issue of people who do extreme wrong. Even if you said for the regular people, maybe Allah can forgive and forget. Some of the people, their whole entire life is just doing wrong. Starting wars with other countries. All of those people who were killed, all of those buildings who were destroyed, all of these people's lives destroyed, people made refugees and stuff like that. How can you get any sort of like the Nakba? They went over 600,000 people driven out of their homes and killed. If they die and the person who drove it out dies, then it's the same. How is that fair? Human beings don't accept that. So to have a meaning of life, you have to have hell. Also, the other thing is you have to have consequences to make somebody pay attention. Let's say I said, you know what, there's this such thing as Islam and it's the right way. right? And you say, well, I don't think so. I'm not going to listen. And the next one says, well, if you don't listen and you get it wrong, there's a punishment. Then reason tells you that maybe I should pay attention. This is also why the punishment has to be severe enough to make you pay attention, as far as logic goes. We had used this example the other day, but if I say, let's say that I say, brother drives over here from his house, and I say, hey, I think you left the lights on at your apartment before you left. He's like, a little electricity, maybe, maybe not. No needs, like logically, you don't have to drive home to check that and turn the lights off. Why? Punishment is too light. If I say, maybe you left the door unlocked, you say, well, if it's unlocked, but it's closed, maybe nobody notices, and that's fine. Maybe nobody will realize that the door's unlocked. If I say, you left one of your children at home, suddenly you're like, wait a minute. You call your wife. Like logic is, let me check and see if this news is actually true. Is one of the kids missed? If a person was like, I don't think it'll be fine. You'd say that's qabi aqlan. Like that's ugly to the intelligence, that you didn't even investigate something that serious. Maybe one of my children is home alone. That's serious, right? So this is why hell has to be there, to make people pay attention to the deen. If it's the punishment is so little, maybe, everybody's gonna go to paradise, but maybe your toga is not gonna be the best toga. You're like, why should I pay attention to which deen is right and which deen is wrong? If you're like, if you get this wrong, you might be in hell for tens of thousands of years. You're like, okay, let me just go ahead and take a look, see, does this religion make sense or not? Does that make sense to you guys? Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now you have the next question, which is, why did Allah create heaven? Of course, most people don't really question this. They all like the idea of going to heaven. I've even seen atheists that are angry because Muslims, they say that, what kind of religion is this? You don't think atheists will go to paradise. I'm like, if you think it doesn't make any sense, why would you care? It's like me saying, well, I don't believe in Santa Claus. They're like, if you don't believe in Santa Claus, you're not going to get any gifts. I'm like, there's no such thing as Santa Claus anyway. So why would I care whether, if you think that I don't believe in Santa Claus, then I won't get any gifts? Because it doesn't exist. It doesn't care. But these people have a sense internally that there really is a heaven. And so they get angry when you're reminding them that they're not going to partake in it and they might get hell. So one of it is our fitra kind of knows that this exists. But let's think about, well, why do we have to have heaven? Well, the vast majority of people just accept it. They want it because they want it to be true, so they accept it. But there are some people who even in the past, some of the Europeans used to say that, no, why should we have a heaven with women and wives and money and this? We should just, you shouldn't even care about that stuff. You should just get your toga and your harp and just be in heaven. The logic is that we as human beings, we're not just a spirit. We as human beings, it's a body and spirit. So for us to commit sins, the soul and the body commit the sin together. To us to do good deeds, the soul and the body commit the good deed together. So the reward has to be physical and tangible, because the action was both meaning-wise and tangible. For it to be fair, meaning for Allah to do adala, He can't say, well, you're going to do a physical thing, but I'm only going to give you a spiritual reward. Or you're going to do a spiritual thing, and then I'm going to give you only a physical punishment. No, the action was physical and spiritual, so you have to get a physical and spiritual punishment or a physical and spiritual reward. So when Allah's talking about people drinking zakum and boiling water and stuff like that, there's the spiritual punishment, which is the anger of Allah, and then there's the physical manifestation of that punishment, which is fire and brimstone and everything like that. So the reward has to also be that way. And also we have the same logical issue of the encouragement to do the action and at least investigate whether or not the reward actually exists. What I mean by that is if you say that the reward is a toga or whatever, like maybe you get a toga and the people who are the best in heaven, they get the best toga, and then the other people they don't, or something like that. Let's say you say that's what the reward is. It's like, "No, it's not worth it to investigate." Okay, and we'll use an example in this world. If you say, hey, there's a guy, he's handing out 50-cent off coupons down the road. Like, you know what? I'm not even going to investigate. You said maybe. You're not even sure if it's true or not. That's not worth. I'm going to drive 15 minutes to go and see if there's a 50-cent coupon on, cereal. Not worth investigating. He ups it and he says there's $50 off a next pair of tires. Maybe you start say there's a guy handing out. Let's say someone said actually at the masjid down the street, they're giving out tickets to ziyarat of Imam Husayn. Aqlan, we would say, let's at least investigate. You're like, hey, the time is free. I have a half an hour. I can drive down to the masjid and at least check and see, is that really true? So now this is where, and this is even if it's just slight chances of it being true. Much more if somebody who's reliable and responsible, 2 or 3 people come and tell you there's something big and good. If you go down to the street, they're giving out any person who comes to this masjid, you get $5,000. You're like, okay, at least let me check and see if they're really handing this out. And you see people coming back with money. You're not, it's probably conspiracy theory, it's probably fake. No, you're going to say, let me at least check. That would be reasonable. So to encourage people to do an reasonable investigation of Islam and reasonable investigation of religion, you have to have heaven and you have to have hell. One is just for the reason of it. The other part is what we said, to say that providing justice, the people who didn't get what they deserve in this world have to get some kind of recompense in the next world. And also, as we see, there are some actions which are so horrendous that you have to have a horrible punishment in the next world, which is like you're blocking the path of truth. And that some actions which are so righteous that you can't really reward the person in this world for what they done. So you have like, some of these ulama, some of these shuhada, that you can't just say, oh, you get $1 million. That wouldn't be the reward for what he did that, saved all these people or do good to these people. So you have to have that. Please give salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now getting back to just to bring it into our time, when we continue this life of trying to live like the Imams and follow the example of the Imams, we have this example of in our own lives that we cannot be now too hard and strict, and we can also not be too soft on the people. So they have this idea now that they have that the gentle parenting, that everything is supposed to be with understanding and the babies are supposed to feel no pain whatsoever. What this does really is you bring things out of their place. That when the babies are very small, yes, it's 90% love and a little bit understanding. When they get a little bit older, it's understanding, but also with consequences. Then when they get to the older stages, that they're basically a young adult, then you have mostly understanding, a little bit consequences, a little bit love to get the person balanced it in their right place. If you do it the other way around, you give love, 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 love all the way through, then the person becomes spoiled and entitled and things like that. If you give punishments, 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 punishments all the way through, you drive your children away from you, or they become harsh and brutal even to their own children. They become weak individuals because everything is done out of fear. So you have to have A, a balance, but then B, each in its proper time. You also see these people who they want Islam to be that way. They want Islam as somebody put it, Sheikh Osama, I think he's the one who coined the phrase. He called it Barney Islam, which is, remember that purple dinosaur Barney, that Barney would love everybody and stuff like that. So they have too much love poured into Islam. They accept any sort of bad behavior. They never do this amar bil ma'ruf wa nahyan anil munkar. And it's very important that no, we do have some red lines. We do stand up against tyranny. We do say things are right and we do say things are wrong. I'll give you some hadith to kind of make this point. We have from a hadith from Imam Husayn. Please give salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That he says, inna majariul umur wal ahkam ala aidil ulama. Ulama Allah. Al-umana'i ala halalihi wa haramihi. That surely the flow of the actions of the flow of what's going on is in the hands of the scholars, his trustees on his halal and his haram. So those who know what the halal and the haram is, it's their duty to specify and tell people what those things are. The idea that you just forgive and forget everything, that you do it to the point that people don't even know what the halal and haram are, you're doing a disservice to Islam. They're like, oh, but we're inviting everybody in. Yeah, but then they don't know what they're in. There's no clarity. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're doing it. And there's no real meaning to it, because then the mu'min and the not mu'min are the same. We have another one from Imam Sadiq. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Arba min akhlaq al-anbiya, al-bir was-sakha. So this righteousness and piety, was-sabru na'iba, that they're patient during trials. Wa-qiyam bihaqq mu'min, that they rise for the right of the mu'min. So they fight, they give pushback when someone is wronged in front of them. They don't just let, well, I've noticed one of the things they try to have us do now when we have the issue of, let's say, Palestine, is you should just be sad. There's nothing else you can do. Any sort of pushback is somehow wrong. No, giving pushback, which is halal in the circumstance, we have to do. And we have another one, which is from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Man taraka inkar al-munkar bi qalbihi wa lisanihi wa yadihi fahuwa mayyitun bayna al-ahya. So whoever gives up forbidding the wrong with his heart and his tongue and his hand, then he is dead amongst the alive ones. That one of our important duties is amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. And this is what the Imams carried forward and showed us. That the Imam says that whoever abandons doing amr bil ma'ruf with his heart and his tongue and his hand, then he is dead amongst the living. It's just, life doesn't mean anything. Now, what we want to look at a little bit is what is with the heart? That a person cannot participate in the wrong, obviously, but he also should not show pleasure with it. Meaning, like, I'm okay with it. It's not that big a deal. You guys do it. Like, that I'm cool with everything type, he should show displeasure with it. So sometimes he doesn't say, but let's say he has friends who drink, he should at least make a face. He should leave that majalis. They start lying or they start doing gossiping. If he can't stop them, he should be away from it. Not encourage them, laugh at the jokes, and as if he's agreeing, even if he's not agreeing in his heart. No, it should be that this disagreement with the heart has an outward side of it. Sometimes people come over and they'll joke, like let's say they don't drink, but they'll joke about drinking with the others. They don't gamble, but they'll joke about doing it with the others. So it's as if they're doing it, but they're not. No, that's not allowable. You should show that this is something that you don't do. Whatever the sin is, lying, whatever it is, that you should show that, yes, this is not something that I agree with, something that I do on the side, and I'm not okay even with you doing it. With your tongue, if you're able to. So that's in the point that you're not able to do it. Sometimes you haven't built up a relationship or something that you can't even tell the person that they shouldn't do it. But you shouldn't pretend to participate. But if you've built up enough of a relationship that you can speak out on it and you can do this effectively, sometimes you can't do it effectively because the person is doing so many things wrong. You have to start with the big and then work your way down to the small. That could be what it is. Sometimes you haven't built up a relationship. But if you have and you are in position, you speak out with your tongue. Now, if you're positioned to forbid it with your hand, then you also prevent the bad deed with your hand. And that, again, changes to the circumstances. If it's within my own house. So let's say I have a house, I can't allow people to gamble or something there. Meaning they will listen to me. If I stop them, and then I'm just not stopping because maybe I don't want he's my best friend and I don't want him to be angry or something like that. No, you actually have the power in this relationship to physically prevent this from happening. It's your duty then to prevent it from happening that way. So we have to look at these standards of the Imam and how they raised their Sahaba to have these different high standards. So now let us look to Karbala, and let's take a few minutes to try to put ourselves in that mood. Husayn, 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 Husayn. There was at the time of Karbala, in the battle, Imam Husayn requested from the enemies that he be given a chance to pray. Let's pause the battle. In any case, whatever side we're on, that we are Muslims and that we should pray. His mission is still to guide the people. It's still to call the people to the right path. And he's doing it by example, no matter what's going on, no matter how important the worldly stuff is, that nothing comes before the prayer. And the enemies of Imam were so bad that they didn't even want to let him to pray. So he set his soldiers up. Some of them, he gave them the order. He asked them, would you guys protect us while we pray? And one of the Muslims who did this, his name was Amr ibn Qarza al-Ansari. So the Imam got his companions and they called the adhan and they started praying. And the enemies were so evil, they began shooting arrows and throwing stones to hit the Imam while he was praying. And these brave companions, they put their lives out there and they began to jump and try to block and protect the Imam while he's getting hit with arrows. And they began to take these arrows and these spears in their own bodies and in their own flesh. We have to look at the determination and the steadfastness of these companions, that they were willing to put their lives, and we should be like this, that we are willing to put our lives to protect the Imam and make sure that the Imam is not hurt and the Imam is not harmed. They were steadfast. The arrows hit their flesh, but they continued to defend the Imam and protect the Imam until finally the prayer was over and then they collapsed onto the ground. And the Imam came over to his companions and their only request, they said, oh, our Imam, did we do our duty? Did we protect you? Did we fulfill our promise to you? And the Imam said, yes. He is heartbroken and crushed at seeing his own companions that had stood up so bravely and had stood up so steadfastly and had been killed protecting him. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.